Welcome to the Knit Yorker podcast and welcome back. I know it's been a while since I've made videos. Really, I haven't made any this year. It's just kind of, life getting out of control and just not having enough time to do it. But instead of dwelling on that, I wanted to sit down and actually try a new format, podcast format. I was not a podcast person before. I kind of got into it in the past few months, just walking with my earphones and listening to podcasts. So I wanted to try that too, and that kind of lets me do more of videos that are not as complicated, and we can have conversations, and I can sit down at least once a month and make a video. So let's see how that works. Today is gonna be the first try of this. So thank you for joining. I still plan to make videos in which I go deeper into projects, especially when it's sewing. I feel like people enjoy that, so I will continue to do that. But these podcasts, are gonna become a series, so I hope you come back to watch more and that you have topics that you enjoy. So today I'm wearing the Provence Sweater. So the Provence Sweater is patterned from Sewrella, and it's also her yarn. So I was really excited when she reached out to me to gift me this yarn and pattern so I could join her make along MAL, which happened just this past the past month or so, which was really exciting. I selected the knitting pattern. There was a crochet version and a crochet pattern and then a knitting pattern, and I went for this sweater. It's so nice and airy and springy, and I was kind of afraid that I would not have time to actually wear it this spring, that it would be too warm, but it worked out great. Today is kind of a gloomier type of day, and it's been kind of cold lately, so perfect for wearing this sweater. It's warm, but it's still, airy and really soft. I knitted on Sewrella's Suri base, and then all of the colors in the mall were, of course, from her new spring collection, so that everyone was knitting the same. It was a really fun make along, seeing everybody just finishing around this time and posting their sweaters and all the different colorways. And there were a lot of giveaways too. I did not win anything, which is fine, but it's so fun to see like all the things that she's doing, and it was a really fun collection. I was very happy with how it ended up. It's like I said, it's really soft and cozy, and it was actually a really fast knit. I didn't think I was gonna finish it in time, but I did, and I think it's because you are knitting it with the yarn hold double, so it just goes by really quickly, and yeah, so it was a perfect spring. It's a perfect spring sweater. I am really enjoying it. I really enjoy knitting it too. As for what I'm making right now, I have 3 projects going on. I have been kind of working on the same few projects for months now. It's just been like one of those long projects and taking my time. And like I said, life just gets in the way. And I was concentrated on finishing this sweater too, which doesn't help. But anyway, there are 3 big projects that I'm working on. The bigger one, and the one I'm almost done with, is the Prism blanket. I don't know if you've seen or heard about this blanket. It's everywhere. Show a little bit. You can't see much from here. So this blanket is so soft. So this blanket is a Purl Soho blanket pattern, and it was also a knit along, a cal. And I don't usually join so many knit alongs and make alongs, but I don't know about this year. It's just been like I just really caught my eye on these different projects, and just everything about it. I'm like, I have to have it. That's kind of what happened with this Prism blanket. It came in January. They announced that they were doing this knit along, and they had all of this, bundles of for you to make the pattern, and these different color coordinations and combinations. And I don't know. I could not stop thinking about it. I just really wanted to make it. And I remember just lying in bed and thinking about the colors and which ones I could make. So I was like, I have to join this cal, and I have to make this blanket. And so I jumped on it, and I'm still working on it. I technically finished it because I chose the crib size, so it's a little bit smaller than other people's are making, but I actually did finish that size, and then I realized I still had a lot of yarn left. I don't know how or what happened there, but I don't have enough. So I thought I could make 1 extra column. So that's what I'm doing right now. the way that this pattern is constructed is you knit each one of these squares. It's made of 2 triangles, and then when you finish, well, as you go, you're joining to the other square. So there's no sewing involved, which is really, really nice. So really, it's kind of like not a lot of thinking, and very soothing knitting, very repetitive. You just kind of increase in your triangle, and then you decrease to your triangle, and you join, and then you do the next one. So that's what I've been doing. That's why it's so easy to just add more column, more triangles, more squares, and make your blanket a little bigger, which is what I'm doing right now. As for the colors, feel like I definitely chose colors that are softer, I would say. It was one of the combinations that they had, and I just went for it. And basically what it has is 2 pinks. So there's this darker pink and then a lighter pink over here. There's like a base white and natural color, and then there's like a gray too, and yellow, which is, I think the yellow is my favorite. It just kind of pops the most out of the blanket, and it just has like the way that I thought about distributing the colors. I kind of didn't follow exactly what they had suggested. I just did my own thing, and I have it in a way that there's the exact same amount of each color, so it feels very well distributed. Even actually as adding that extra column made it distributed like that. So I don't know, it's not something that a lot of people are going to notice, but it's something that's going to make me feel good. So I've been working on this for a long time. Like I started in early February, late January, and I'm still not done. So, you know, it's been really fun to do and very relaxing, and I'm enjoying it, but I do kind of want to get over with it and jump on to the next thing. But it is just holding it. The yarn is so nice. This is the good wool from Purl Soho as well. So yeah, it's been a really fun knit, and I can't wait to finish it. Another thing that I've been working on at the same time as everything else that I just showed you, the sweater, the blanket, is a shawl. Actually, I've been really getting into shawls the way that I didn't really used to. It's kind of funny how they say if you're not a sock knitter and then you start knitting socks, you become a sock knitter. I think that's kind of how it was for me for shawls. I wasn't really like a shawl wearer, like I didn't really have any, and then I started knitting them, and now I love making them and I love wearing them. They're so versatile. So this is my work in progress. I still have ways to go, but this is a pattern called Caress My Soul. It's a pattern by Melanie Berg. I found it on Ravelry. It is kind of like a rectangular type of shawl, where half of it is garter stitch and as increases, and then the other half is this beautiful elegant lace. As you can see, I just started there, so it actually will go like this. It's upside down. So I'm just starting on the lace. I still have ways to go, like I said. But yeah, it's such a nice, elegant shawl. I don't think it's simple at all, but it looks simple. It has like that elegance to it, and yeah, it's kind of sad because I did want to finish it for an event, a wedding that I went to a couple weeks ago. So obviously I didn't finish in time. I didn't want to just force myself to knit really fast because it isn't kind of small needles. They're around 4.5 millimeters, so it's not that small, but I don't know, maybe it's because I've been knitting so much, but if I knit on that for a long time, it kind of starts hurting my hands, so I didn't want to, hurt my hands just to finish for the wedding, so I did not finish, but it's fine. I will finish eventually, and I'll find some other reason to wear it, and I'll just wear it every day. It doesn't matter. So it's exciting. So I'm trying to be positive about it. The color that I'm using and then the yarn that I'm using, this is actually yarn that I bought on Rhinebeck in the last fall, and I did buy it kind of thinking of this pattern or thinking of a shawl. I wanted to make a shawl. I bought 3 skeins, and it is Primrose yarn. It's my second time buying her yarn when I go to Rhinebeck. I love her style, and I love all the colors that she has. So many colors. So this colorway is called Comet. It's like yellowish. Yes, it's very similar to the picture on the pattern. I was like, I saw this shawl and I was like, I need a yellow shawl. It's more like golden. It has like a nice tint to it, like darker. It's not like a bright yellow. It is definitely more brownish golden. But it's coming out really cute, I think. Once I finish the lace, it's gonna look so nice. So that is the shawl I've been working on. This is kind of my small project, even though it's not that small. But compared to the blanket, and the thing about the blankets is that I actually have one more blanket that I'm working on, which is kind of insane. But this is a blanket that I started a long time ago. Basically, what happened was I was doing some other project using bulky yarn, lots of it, and then I wasn't really coming out the way I liked it, and so I decided to frog it. And so I had all this yarn that lots of bulky acrylic yarn I didn't know what to do with, so I ended up thinking, okay, this is perfect for blankets, so I'll just find a blanket and make it. And so I decided for the harvest throw, which is a throw blanket by 2 of Wands. And it's like kind of one of those repetitive type of patterns, but still challenging enough that I do have to pay enough attention, so it's not like just garter stitch or something. And as you can see, I am not very far into it. This is how much I've knit in, like, I don't even know how many months. I've really just been taking it very slow. It's funny because I said with small needles, my hands hurt sometimes. But the funny thing is, like, with larger needles like this, sometimes it also hurts my hands. So I kind of have to stick to, like, 5 millimeters to maybe 7. I mean, I just can't work a million ropes on them without just getting pain. So I've been taking it easy and slow and just kind of needing one row here and there. It's one of those projects that I know it's gonna take a long time, and that's fine. I have no rush, no pressure. This is just gonna be in the back burner for a while, and eventually I'll have a blanket and it's gonna be beautiful and nice and cozy. In the meantime, it's just sitting in my project bag 4. And that's kind of what takes us into today's topic. Just working on these blankets for so long and thinking about blankets in general made me want to make this the topic. It's interesting making blankets because it's such a big project, probably the biggest you could, well, I guess depends, but to me, it's one of the biggest projects you can work on. It's going to take a long time, no matter what the pattern is, no matter how simple. Even just a garter stitch blanket, square, would still probably take a long time. It is definitely something that you're investing your time into, and it's a decision. And funny enough, people have a lot of thoughts about them. I was kind of surprised, and at the same time, not really, because I've seen that happen before. Not just with blankets, but with a lot of things. So, like, people have opinions. So it was interesting to put the conversation of this topic out into the community and see what people thought, at least my small community, which I think is a good representation of what in general people think about projects like this. So basically what I did is I put out a question on my Instagram stories. Just wanted to see, like, what do people think about blankets as a project? Obviously not blankets as an object, because who doesn't love a good blanket, but as a project that you take on. I think myself, it's not something that I make very often. Maybe I've made 3 blankets. These are my next 2, so maybe 5 total in all the years I've been knitting, so less than 1 a year. I've gifted a couple, and I usually make smaller ones, again, because I get tired or bored, or just the pattern calls for like a smaller one. And it tends to be because there's something about it that really catches my eye, something about the design or the construction, or I don't know, just in general, the blanket, that makes me go like, I really need to make this blanket. So it's an interesting blank canvas because it's literally a canvas. Like, it's the shape allows you to do anything. A lot of people do kind of like the more what's the name, mosaic type of thing. I did crochet a blanket like that once. Crocheting blankets for me makes more sense sometimes than knitting, even though I'm knitting too right now. There's something about the crochet version of it, maybe because you can do granny squares, because it's faster, that it just kind of makes sense to me. So with that in mind, let's look at some of the responses I got on this question about blankets. I'm gonna read some of them, but I'll put it on the screen. Love granny squares are my fave. Great for stash busting. I agree. I just remember that I do have a stash busting crochet blanket somewhere that I've forgotten about because I've just been taking whatever worsted yarn that I have left over and kind of crocheting another row, and it's been a while. I haven't been using a lot of worsted, so it kind of sat there. I will come back to it eventually, but yes, stash busting is so good for blankets. I'm the kind of person that doesn't throw away any yarn left over. I just feel so bad about it, and I usually don't have anything to use it with. So it's a great idea to just make a cute scrappy blanket with it, and they are cute. I feel like those at some point became really popular. The many color blanket thing, especially like saying granny squares. I was doing like just rows, but some people do it with granny squares and it looks great. Let's do another one. I crochet blankets and knit garments generally because it goes quicker. That kind of goes with what I was saying earlier. I agree. Sometimes it feels like crochet is the correct, it's not like it's the best method for making blankets. It just feels like the fastest one, and then you have more liberty to do things like squares. And then again, I'm knitting squares, so you just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but it does seem like a lot of people agree that knitting creates some sort of the fabric that it creates feels more like a garment, and then crochet can be really great for the warmth you would want and the thickness of a blanket. Then someone said, never ever please and thanks. Why one big one and not two cussy ones? Nope, never. So yes, very strong feelings about blankets here. Some people just think that it's not a good use of your time, which is totally fair. I get the feeling of, why make one big project when I could make two smaller ones? And it's fair. And I think I would have agreed at some point. I would say like, oh no, I'm never gonna finish. Why would I do that? But sometimes it's just the right thing to do. And like I said, you can always have a blanket in the back burner, or you do you. Just don't do blankets. It's fine. Someone else said, I get so bored while making blankets and my tension goes out the window. Yeah, like some people get bored, and definitely the tension of my blanket is not the same, but I don't really care, to be honest, because it's not like I'm not gonna wear it. It's just gonna go over us as we're sitting on the couch or something, so it doesn't really matter to me. But some people that are more perfectionists or would see the mistakes and the tension changes and would not want to do that. Someone else is saying, made one from an advent calendar, got pretty tired of it, but I'm glad I finished it. Yeah, that's the thing about longer projects, that they can just bore you eventually, especially if they're very repetitive, or not very challenging patterns. So I understand that. That's why I sometimes put down my project and pick it up a few months later so it feels newer. And that's why that blanket, the harvest throw, is gonna take me a while. This one says, make granny squares, instant gratification of completing a square, and you can join as you go. Yes. Wow. Like, so many people are up for the granny square vibe. And again, I have made granny squares, and in a way, the Prism blanket is in squares, so even though it's not technically granny squares, yes, it's like I finished one. It's just one at a time as opposed to all of this together, and it does feel like a million little projects in one, as opposed to one large project. Start with bigger yarn. It feels less tedious and the gratification of a finished object hits faster. Yeah, so I think she means like bigger weight yarn, some bulky yarn. And yes, absolutely, like it goes a lot faster when you're working with that type of yarn than when you're working with worsted weight or sport weight. Baby blankets I like, but I find tedious towards the end. Also finger knit a giant blanket. I think finger knitting a giant blanket sounds insane. I can't picture that unless you're doing, I've seen people that do color work in their blankets. It's beautiful and like super intricate, and that is like Magnus Opus. Like that is a lot of commitment that I don't know if I could do it. But that is definitely a crazy thing. Baby blankets are nice because, again, anything that's for babies, it's so small that it takes half the time and it's so rewarding. So if you're not sure and want to start with something, I would say if you want to make a blanket but don't want to take 3 years to make it, maybe do a baby blanket. Let's see what else. I got one in Spanish from my aunt. I will translate a little bit from you. Is she saying my blankets get a lot of use? That's why I prefer acrylic yarn, because it's a lot more resistant and easier to wash. In fact, I've already lost count of how many I've made, and I can attest to this, because yes, there are so many blankets in her house. And I think that's like a really smart way of like, hey, everyone in my house uses this blanket, so why would I spend, $100 on like really expensive yarn, or if it's for children and I know that they're gonna need to be washed a lot. I'm not going to invest on it too much. In totally fair, and I think that goes for any project when you know what it's gonna be used on, and it doesn't really make sense to invest in really good yarn if it's just gonna be sitting on the couch and be like stepped on by pets and things like that. So I think that absolutely makes sense. And I think that is it. I don't know why when I first read these I thought it was a lot more negative than it actually was. Now that I'm reading them again, I think people are just saying, it's a big project, it can be boring, but crochet blankets are fun. Crochet squares are very rewarding. Crochet granny squares. Smaller blankets, like for babies, are really fun. Bulkier acrylic yarn can be like a alternative, and you can make tons of them, and it feels like, they're not gonna need a lot of care, but they're still nice and warm and cozy, and you get to make the blankets. So yeah, I know it seemed a lot more divided before, but now I think people are just generally having the same opinion that blankets are fun and it's really nice to use them, but you gotta pick your battle, or you gotta pick your pattern very carefully and not put yourself in a position where you're gonna get bored or not want to knit another blanket ever again. So that is our topic for today. Thank you so much for talking to me about blankets. I've been thinking about them for so long. I don't know if I will make another one soon. I say that, and then maybe I'll finish this and another knit along will come up and I will be there. So you never know. But in the meantime, let me know what are your thoughts about blankets? Do you have one that you add on as you have stash busting problems, or is there a pattern that really makes it worth it for you to make a blanket that you think it's like, this one really is worth it? Do you have a tradition like gifting blankets to someone who's getting married? I just remember I actually did make more blankets. I completely forgot I made a blanket for my sister when she got married just last year, and it was a bulky blanket, and I think it was crochet. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they make a really good gift. It's like, again, it's a gift that you're investing time on, so definitely not something small. So I guess make sure the person receiving it will be knit worthy. My sister definitely is. So yeah, sometimes a blanket is the way to go, and sometimes you might want to stick to another project. Anyway, that wraps up for today. Let me know what you think, and please stay tuned for another episode soon. So definitely keep an eye on my Instagram at theknityorker. I usually ask questions there. Also, leave a comment if you have something that you would like to talk about. I hope to eventually have people as guests to have more conversations. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the sound of my voice, and have a great rest of your day or night, and happy making.